Here at Anderson Stone with Mckay Anderson. Information down in the description section of the video. How you doing, Mckay?
Good. How are you guys doing today?
Doing fantastic. Beautiful day here at the Miners Co-op.
It sure is. We're gonna look at some different turquoise. This is 100% natural. This is Royston, Nevada.
Is this from the Ottison's mine?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. And if I'm not mistaken, you dug this yourself, right?
Yes. They have a fee dig that you can sign up online. They're very, very good people, very fun to dig with. They'll help show you everything you need to go dig. I'm not saying this is easy to dig, because it does take a lot of work to find stuff, but if you look and you work hard, you can find enough material to cut a tray of cabs like this in a day out there. It's just phenomenal. These cabochons can get very pricey because they're 100% natural turquoise.
It's amazing. And your polish is absolutely stunning. We'll talk about how you get that polish a little bit later. But I gotta tell you, it's some of the best polish I've seen at the entire Tucson Gem and Mineral Show. Amazing. You're doing it all on a Genie.
Mm-hmm.
Your sweetheart over there. What are your favorite colors in Royston?
I actually really don't have a favorite color in turquoise. I mean, if I was to say my favorite all-time color, of course, is the what everyone refers to as the killer robin's blue, egg color, or like Bisbee blue. That kind of almost looks like Bisbee turquoise just because of the webbing and the color in it. But I love the what they call a polychrome, or the multicolored with the greens and the blues together. That's some of my absolute favorite.
Definitely.
Like this one has kind of some blue tones to it with green, and how the cabochon flows together is just incredible. And I love to capture the beauty of each piece as I'm cutting. And people have to understand that turquoise is going to cut how it wants to be cut, not how you want it to be cut. So when you're cutting a stone, you're grinding and all of a sudden a piece will break off. It's natural. And that's what people have to understand about natural turquoise, is it's a lot more of a challenge cutting natural versus stabilized turquoise, because natural fractures are going to break, pieces are going to pop out, and then you have to redesign the stone as you cut it.
Amazing.
So here, this is turquoise from a different varieties. This is Bisbee turquoise, classic Bisbee.
Wow, I don't think I've seen Bisbee that dark blue.
Very pretty blue. This is what they call Sonoran. This is from Mexico. This nugget is just a natural, 100% natural nugget that I polished. I left the surface of the nugget to look the way it does, because I like it.
Oh, I love it. If you set it in jewelry and you have like a step bezel, the back natural backing looks
just beautiful. This one is another piece from the same mine. I just left it the way it was and just cabbed down. It's challenging because it is natural, so you'll have areas in turquoise that are much softer. As you notice, this one doesn't have near as high gloss as this does. And that's because this is a softer turquoise naturally. I had to polish this with Zam. And so most dealers that sell turquoise would send this off to be stabilized to help with that, so it would polish more. This is from an area in Mexico called Campitos.
Oh, I've never seen Campitos like that. I'm used to the really pale blue with the pyrite.
And this is very pretty. It's kind of translucent. This is probably the only cab I've seen that I've cut from that material. It's also expensive just because of its rarity.
And it's natural.
I've only cut a couple pieces like this.
I've never seen Campitos like that. It's amazing.
This is stabilized. This material, have to be very careful when you're cutting it when it's natural, because pieces of the stone will pluck out a lot and come over and grind big scratches in the stone, so I tend to like cutting this more stabilized. It's just an unusual piece.
Where is this piece from?
This is also Mexico. This is Mexico. This is all natural.
Oh wow, that one reminds me of some of the Kazakhstan material. Kazakhstan or Kazakhstan.
Yeah, it has that beautiful lavender blue with some bright Bisbee blues around it. Very pretty. And because it comes from Mexico, it's not near as expensive naturally, so I can offer stones like this at a better price.
That is amazing. The queen of the rodeo. Amazing.
These trays out in some light here so we can see what we're looking at. This has Vericites and Turquoises, some from Nevada. This is Vericite that I discovered last year in Nevada. That's very pretty stuff. Kind of not the traditional green, it's a light green with these little orange spots. This claim is owned by Ryan out of Nevada. This is Colina Verde. This is Vericite. Looks a lot like turquoise.
It sure does.
Multi-colors. Extremely hard, 100% natural material. Incredible mine, an incredible guy. Really good guy. I like digging there. So he lets us go occasionally up to his mine and dig a little bit. This is turquoise from Blue Creek, China. Doesn't even look like turquoise. It's just incredible.
And an amazing polish you're getting on this, my friend. Jeez Louise. Oh, I love the color variation in this. Nice thick girdle on these.
And these two cabs here are from Nevada. This one is Battle Mountain area, Nevada, turquoise, and this one is Easter Blue over by Tonopah.
That's Ottoson material, right?
Ottoson material.
Very nice. Can you tell me about this one right here? It's very unique.
This is Vericite. This is Desert Bloom Vericite, and that is Rodney Frisbee and Alan Chambers' mine in Nevada. Produces really pretty Vericite. This is quite dense spider webbing pattern. Unusual. I like, of course, Vericites and turquoises a lot. If you like Bisbee turquoise, that is a very rare, incredibly large cabochon of Bisbee. I left it more the natural shape. This has been stabilized because the metallics in it, if you try cutting Bisbee a lot of times with this metallics, you'll have problems with polishing everything together. So some of this I prefer to get stabilized. To me, doesn't change the value on it just because of how rare this material is in the first place.
Absolutely, most Bisbee that you would see isn't that gemmy. This is a very special piece, at least from what I've seen here at the show this year.
This is Chinese.
Is this Hubei?
This is Hubei. A lot of people are familiar with Hubei. This is all stabilized. I do have natural rough and stabilized rough available in this, and cabochons. It just depends on what you like. The natural material ends up having problems with the black polishing. It's very difficult to get a polish on it unless it's stabilized, but still doesn't bother most cutters. They like it, and it's not as expensive naturally as a lot of other turquoises because it's more common. But this material also is now on the market getting a lot more expensive. I have a hard time finding this for under $1.50 a gram. Most of the good stuff that I buy is about $2 a gram in the rough.
And Mckay, people can contact you to buy rough and cabs, right?
Yes, just contact me via Messenger app on Facebook. I can also be contacted on Anderson Stone's Instagram. Just leave us a message. If not, the card should have my phone number on there.
It does.
So you can text me on the card or call and leave a message. If I'm not available, just leave a message. I'm usually out mining, so it can be difficult to get a hold of, but I will get back to you.
And email if that's what you prefer.
Yes.
Also, you're buying out collections from people if they're no longer interested
Yes.
in collecting. That is fantastic. There's a lot of folks out there who just want to get out of the scene. You know, they've cut their cut and they're, you know.
And there's a lot of people who their grandparents cut stone and they have turquoise or they have this or that. And I like to buy those collections because I like the material to keep being circulated through stone cutters. Some of the old material is extremely fun to cut and find, and I love just going. I have a passion for finding things. It's almost like being out in the field. You go into a basement of somebody's home and you find a little jar full of something, and you love it because you've been looking for it for 2 months. And so I do love buying collections, and I travel quite a bit. If not, I can look at stuff in photos and videos also.
That's fantastic. And you're doing the material a big time justice. You're not just cutting it on an 80 grit wheel, throwing it in a lotto tumbler. You're serving the stone. Is this Morenci?
This is Morenci.
Very legendary material. It's so shiny, it's almost hard to video. But the pyrite is the metallics in here, right?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And all of the Morenci that I have is stabilized because cutting Morenci with a lot of pyrite is extremely difficult, having the pyrite stay in the turquoise. So I send all of my Morenci off to have stabilized so that when you cut a stone, it doesn't pluck out of the stone. It just makes cutting so much more enjoyable, and so much more volume can be cut from a single piece. Otherwise you lose 90% of a stone trying to cut it when it's natural. So I very much prefer having this material stabilized.
The jewelry that it'll eventually get set in will last multiple lifetimes because it's stabilized. And if you wash, if you're wearing your bracelet and washing dishes and stuff, maybe the pyrite will fall out if you weren't wearing it, or other ways of degrading it.
The other reason I like this stabilized is that pyrite is iron sulfide. When the pyrite breaks down, it combines with copper, which is in the turquoise, and then you get copper sulfides, and so the turquoise can readily turn ugly browns and greens. This is doing that very thing right here naturally. Before it was stabilized, it started to turn these browns, and that's the turquoise in it. And once the stone does that, it's not beautiful and nobody wants to wear it anymore. So stabilizing it stops that from happening. It seals the turquoise. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, is that turquoise is sealed to protect it when you wear it from your own bodily fluids. When you sweat, you release sulfides, and those sulfides will turn your turquoise green or yellow or brown.
I hear that happens a lot with natural sleeping beauty.
It does. Natural sleeping beauty is quite porous and can be problematic.
And you have some amazing Morenci showpieces here.
Yes.
Could you pull this one out for me, my friend?
Yeah, this is this was cut from the largest nugget that I was able to purchase. It's all dusty here.
Oh my goodness.
So this is what you deal with in turquoise. You deal with pits like this that you have to cut around and polish, and natural rock that's in turquoise, and it's not always pretty and always clean. It can be very problematic when you're cutting.
Wow, that's amazing. Can you show me this one right here?
This one is neat because it is cut. This is the back side of this big one right here, and it's completely surrounded by pyrite on all sides of the turquoise.
Amazing.
And I do have slabs of this material available, and we'll look at that later, of some of the material available, but I have this material available for cutting if you're interested. But note that it is all stabilized. I stabilize all this material for cutting purposes. I do not have any of this natural. This is Nevada material called Emerald Valley, Nevada.
I've never heard of it before.
This was some old turquoise I found in a collection. That's the reason why I like to buy collections, because you don't know what you're finding. This material was very thin, so a lot of it I had to cut. I had to cut the material as is. I don't like backing material that is this expensive and this natural. So this material, I just leave it as the natural stone, the way it's shaped. So a lot of these have the raw look on the back, but phenomenal colors, phenomenal pattern in them, just incredible turquoise. Fantastic. One of my favorites, and I wish I could get more of this, but it is extremely rare to find.
Wow, look at that. This one has like some little crystallinis on the back there.
And notice how thin it is.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of these, but the beauty of this material is how hard it is. Naturally, it's glassy. So when you cut it, it holds up very well.
Fantastic. Working material this fun, you probably never worked a day in your life.
Yes.
How long have you been in the turquoise industry?
I've actually only got into turquoise about 4 years ago. I've always loved turquoise, I've always had it, but I've never sold and I've never bought a lot. So 4 years ago I started just loving the stone, and naturally it's my birthstone. It's December's birthstone.
Oh, nice.
And I never saw a beautiful turquoise growing up, so it wasn't something that I was like, oh, that's pretty. I always just saw this blue stone. But then when I saw the variety of turquoise, there's literally hundreds of varieties of turquoise, and one mine, like the Royston mine, for example, produces an array of colors and patterns, from Bisbee blues to the most killer greens that have this almost like a lime color green to it that's just incredible. And you can find those colors together. If I have 100 people ask me this, I'm not going to be able to provide it for 100 people because I don't have a lot of it.
Yeah, so if you're watching and you like Tiffany stone, you should just buy it all. And if I'm not mistaken, Tiffany stone is an opal, right?
Tiffany stone is an opal and an agate, and that's colored by fluorspar and also by manganese and iron. So this orange is iron, the pinks in this are manganese, and the purples are fluorspar. And Tiffany stone is a dolomitic limestone previous to being what it is now. And there's a large volcanic caldera in Utah that blew the ocean floor probably half a mile into the sky, and then these chunks fell back down into the ground, and wherever they fell into the volcanic ash, if there was a hot spring that brought up the fluorspar and these elements, they altered this dolomitic limestone. And there's a lot of this material I find beautiful fossils in, corals, all kinds of unique stuff. There's a little bit of coral here, but you would have to really have a zoom in, and I don't know if it'll show it in camera, but there's actual coral stems that go all throughout a lot of this material. But this pattern in it is called breccia, and that's what everyone's looking for in Tiffany stone. And it comes in all colors. Most people just know it as purple and white.
Is breccia different than what people call dendrites?
Yes. Breccia is usually a shrink, crack, fracture material like this, where you get these fractures and then they fill in later with agate. So if you look here, you can actually see this is translucent, and those lines, they fill in. So the reason they called it Tiffany is because the first blocks had so much breccia, they actually looked like a Tiffany lamp, like you took pieces of glass and soldered them together. And that's the most sought after.
Then you have some beautiful, would you consider this a nodule?
Yep, these are nodules, they're not cut yet. So you have purples. This is the end off this one that was, the other end is still in the saw at home.
Waiting for Daddy to come home and work it.
But this is rough. The rough is $100. unless it's killer. If it's really killer, it goes up in price. Tiffany stone is getting extremely difficult to find. The material is just almost virtually not available anymore. And I have a small stash of it that I've stashed for quite a few years now. But it really pretty pinks.
I imagine this material might be like some turquoises. When me and you finally retire, everything that's out of the ground might be all that there is.
Yes, it's already getting that way, and people already take stuff, and it's slabs like this are already being sold by the gram, and that's because it's just not available. Well, I'll find somebody who has some in an old collection, and I'll go buy it because I can get it at a price affordable to offer at $100 a pound. And so I'm always looking for collections of this. I'm always looking for collections of stuff because I have to continue to run my business to be able to bring and supply people new material.
I have a lot of friends in New Mexico that are always looking for this material, and it's very hard to find. I'm just so lucky to know who you are. And now you folks are lucky yourselves. Mckay is very kind and kind enough to help you folks if you are shopping for any of this material. Let's get it wet over here. I love the super pyritized stuff. It almost looks like what they call marcasite. I don't really know what marcasite is, but I love it. This one right here. Might have to come home with Lapidary Dave. Oh, I love the rind on the back. If I was going to cut this material, I wouldn't flat lap it. I definitely wouldn't back it. I would leave the back with that rind. So if I made a ring or a bracelet that used a step bezel, that would pop through. Alpine Village. I've never heard of that before. This also has a lot of pyrite in it. Where is Alpine Village from, my friend?
Alpine Village is Mexico.
Is that some of the polished stuff we were looking at earlier?
There was a couple, yes.
Oh, nice. So this is some of the stuff from the beginning of the video.
Yes.
Some classic number 8 from Nevada. One of the most well-known turquoises in America. I was given a slab of this that wasn't stabilized the right way. I don't know if the gentleman is stabilizing this material, but it is very nicely done if he is. He has a very cool material here that I want to hear him talk about here in a moment. Let's get a nice handful of this in the light. And the stabilization that this material goes through is very special, and I believe is a new way of stabilizing. We'll hear Mckay talk about it here in a moment. So tell us about this awesome stuff.
So this is Blue Creek turquoise from China. And this turquoise is, by law, what they considered stabilized. And this is a process of stabilizing. This turquoise is like cutting agate. It's extremely hard. This doesn't need to be stabilized to make it cut any better than it is. The stabilizing process on this is what does this. It's tumble polished. It's glassy. It polishes glassy, beautiful. But this material on the outside of the turquoise, which is this iron material that occurs on the outside, is sandy. It has part of the host rock in it. So when you try to tumble turquoise, it will not tumble because that sand gets all over in the polish, and then it grinds off, and then you just end with a stone with this nasty dull look. So what they do, this process of stabilizing, is where they take the turquoise and they just dip it. So it goes across a screen on a flat board, and they lift the screen up, they take the turquoise off, and then they dip it in a solution that hardens the outside of the turquoise. And then it goes into an oven, which probably takes maybe, I'm guessing, 30 minutes or so, and it just dries. Then they take the turquoise and they just throw it in tumblers and tumble it. But it's not, the process is not to make this turquoise harder. All it is to tumble it so they can polish it. And then you get the natural look, because this is all just veins. This is how it comes out of the ground. And it's beautiful. It can look spider webbed.
So essentially, they're using this dip stabilization method to keep all of the iron and stuff on the outside.
Yes.
That then makes it into the cab.
Yes, and it makes it look beautiful webbed. Otherwise, you would just grind off, and you would just end up with this right here. And yes, that's pretty, and yes, it's polished, but people like the natural, this look right here. And all of this black would just come out as a powder because it's really, really soft. So they're just hardening that black stuff on the outside, basically.
And here in America, we're so used to seeing matrix that I would imagine it's easier to sell material with matrix than the solid blue sometimes, because people aren't used to it.
But if you want to cut a hard piece of turquoise, this is very, very, very hard. It's very fun to cut. Takes a long time to grind down, and it's almost like cutting natural turquoise. That's very, very hard. I have nothing against this turquoise at all.
It's only $1 a gram.
And it's just another process of stabilizing, and I happened to come across this guy that was in China that had this material, and they've developed other processes for stabilizing to enhance the turquoise's look. Otherwise you would lose this look, it would just be blue. Okay, so this is this material here, and you can see here in the light, we'll put it in the sunlight. So this is the polished back here. Just like some of the pieces from Nevada I showed earlier have the crystals that he was showing on the backs of the cabs. It's the same kind of material, but I just pull pieces out, and this is the material that's dipped. This is what it looks like inside. And these are all from here, every piece. So I like to pull pieces out and just fool around with cutting them. And every piece is so different. I love this turquoise because of the multi-colors, the polychrome colors. Nevada has a lot of turquoise that's very similar to this here in the US. It gets very expensive, and expensive natural too. I like this material just because it's different. There's every mine has its different patterns and colors, but if you don't dip this material, you lose this brown. It's really soft, and it actually makes the saw look, and when you're cutting, look kind of like a brown mud that comes off. So when they dip it in that stabilizer, it hardens this brown, and then when you cut cabs, you get this. So this is a piece of rough that I just got back that's been dipped, and yesterday I cut this piece.
Jeez Louise.
And I just love this material. I love how it cuts. I love the colors in it. If you didn't harden the outside, you would lose this beautiful reddish gold browns. They would just rub off as a powder. And you might not lose it all, because you can see in this the color actually goes down into the turquoise, but you do lose the majority of it. But fantastic. That's what it looks like. And then that's what you cut. And that's what you're looking for. But that's what this material right here cuts.
Amazing, extremely affordable. But I love this material. There's no way that it's gonna be at that price forever, so you should get it while the getting's good. I see like a lot of really bad Campitos for more expensive than this material. So get it while the game's good, folks. I actually dropped the piece earlier from about this height and it didn't break. This stuff is hard.
Color difference.
What kind of material is this?
This is Persian turquoise.
And that's dry, not even wet.
Yes, not even wet. And that is like the most electric blue you're gonna see in turquoise.
Fantastic.
I'll have to finish this and then show what it looks like when it's finished, because it looks nothing like it does when it's raw like this.
That is amazing. I would have thought it was Morenci, but the blues in there is a little bit different than the Morenci.
You can see all the saw cuts on it. It's pretty rough. This was cut on a tile saw. So we're going to show this guy.
Your wheels aren't in a normal configuration. You only use one hard wheel, huh?
Yeah. I prefer the one hard wheel. This is 240, and then this is 140.
Interesting.
And this 260.
So you're going backwards to move forward.
Yeah, I don't like second hard wheel. If you use this 140 from Diamond Pacific, is fantastic. Now the decision is, which side do I start?
Oh yeah.
I like them both.
I'm sure hundreds of times you wished you did the other side.
We're gonna do them both.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay. Let's dry it off and take a look.
What's up, brother? 6 pounds.
There it is, finished.
Hola, senor. Just trying to get a good shot of this dry. I think so.
Best price, certified, nationally certified still. No, Persian. Very too bright for taco. I wish.
Nice, beautifully filmed.
Dark. Dark. Did you see it? Yeah.
Thank you so much for chatting with us, Mckay. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you. It was awesome doing the video, and I love doing this kind of stuff. It's my passion. So anytime I can help anybody, feel free to check us all out.
And you will be at Quartzite?
I will be, before Quartzite, I will be in Denver, Colorado. I'll also be in a few other smaller shows around the Midwest and stuff. But my next big show is Denver.
Awesome. And again, here's his information. I'll make sure to put this down in the description section of the video. Give him a call, hit him up on Instagram, let him know you saw the video. It really helps. Thanks again, Mckay.
Yep, thank you.